Hey, thanks for watching today. We're very excited for the first time on our channel to have a conversation instead of just me behind the computer showing you how to search for properties. And what better way than to introduce you to my attorney for all things Alabama, Greg Stanley. We're at Stanley and Associates today. And as a follow-up to my previous video, we want to talk about the options. Okay, go for it.
So I know that a lot of people thought that that voice on the Parcel Fair videos was AI generated. It's not. It's actually, this is Tim Cheek. He's the voice behind those Parcel Fair videos. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead now.
No, it's icebreaker here for me too. First time face-to-face with our audience here. So thanks for that. Mm-hmm. But we wanted to follow up and talk more about the auctions and the opportunities in Jefferson County, Alabama. Specifically, we have an auction coming up in a couple weeks, and we're looking at previous years plus what's being advertised, and we're seeing a lot of opportunity here and want to talk about that.
Well, before we jump right into it, I want to give my background story about how Tim and I met. So years ago, I taught a class. It was several hours. We taught it up at the law school. And a lot of people were coming to this class, and what I taught them how to do was all the due diligence that you want to do before you buy a tax property. And this was back with the old system where you would bid up the amount that you were paying. And so I was teaching folks how to look up the properties at the county websites and how to find, if you wanted to, go and find all the information that you need for your due diligence. And then Tim Cheek put out Parcel Fair, and now everybody can just go and do it themselves. They don't need me. So he took my job, and so I haven't taught that class since. This is for real.
I'm sorry, Greg. I'm sorry.
And well, no, it's good though, because I use your program. I use Parcel Fair. Parcel Fair provides everything that I need. It's all on one page. What I was teaching folks to do was to set their browser up with the 10 tabs. Yep. And use, set up a browser like, if you don't use Chrome for anything else, just set up Chrome with all these tabs so that when you open it, it's all there. But you put everything on one page. And so anyway, it's really fantastic. Really nice job you did. Everybody is amazed. I should have invested back when I before he knew how big this thing was going to get and how good it was. I should have invested. But now it's growing. This whole thing is growing even faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple of years ago, you and I thought that this was the beginning of the end.
That's right. That's exactly right. And the new system he's talking about is, we thought that in Alabama the opportunity was going to really dwindle, mainly because of the way the rules are set up, and seeing the state transition from a state where you could get property quickly for rentals or flips, we thought that was going to be a thing of the past, and then maybe the interest rates were not so appealing either. We didn't see the opportunity yet, and so now we're hoping to see some of that.
You've got a graphic that I was hoping you would put up that shows specifically the growth, the increase of opportunities here. Can you go ahead and show that graphic?
So right now on screen you can see what we've been tracking for years in Parcel Fair. Since 2018, looking at these auctions in Jefferson, Birmingham, and Jefferson, Bessemer, we have 4 years from 2018 through 2021 of the old system. And on average, you could see roughly around 4,000 parcels for Jefferson, Birmingham, and just under 2,000 or so for Jefferson, Bessemer year over year. And then this dramatic increase came in 2022, 23, and 24, where we really saw the numbers explode, going from the average of 4,000 to over 10,000 and combined 15,000 between the two counties. So this is what we're talking about with the opportunity, is just the sheer supply. And that's really where we're going with why we say there's opportunity year over year.
I understand, Tim, the concept of collinearity, and I understand that there's other factors out there that we don't know. I want to know this almost threefold increase since Jefferson County went to what we call the new system, right, the tax lien certificate system. Mm-hmm. How much of that do you think is because of the new system?
Well, again, we're off into speculation from what I think, because I'm really the data guy, and Greg's the real world guy. He sees everything firsthand in person right here every day. But from the data, what I'm really thinking is that there's less pressure in the system for taxpayers to pay on time, and delinquencies just aren't as scary because people can't take possession of your property or perform ejectment. They have to wait 3 full years and then foreclose, so it goes even further. So I don't think homeowners or really, investors are seeing that pressure to pay their taxes year over year.
So in the old system, which you can still, Montgomery's still in the old system. Mm-hmm. We say the old system, that it's the bid system where you buy a tax certificate. Mm-hmm. Tax certificate gives you the right of possession. Don't misunderstand. You can't go up there and throw somebody out of the house. You have to go through the proper channels and take care of it. But within 6 months, you can file an ejectment and take possession of those properties. However, under the new system, the tax lien certificate system, you're not allowed to take possession of the property until the 3rd anniversary, and you do a foreclosure on it.
That's right.
And I remember 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago when they did the first auction, and it was Shelby County and Baldwin County.
That's right.
And I remember you and I talking, and we didn't like it. And the interest rates, we were expecting interest rates to be dismal. And they were that first year, weren't they?
They were, in those counties specifically, yes.
But what's going on with interest rates lately? What are you seeing now, data guy?
So that's the two sides of this opportunity. Number one, the supply of properties that we just talked about went through the roof. But we hear about counties bidding interest down to zero. I would say probably still in some of these counties that they do go pretty low. But what we're seeing from the auction results in the past 2 years for Jefferson, the average interest rate in 22 was 6%. And then last year in 2023, 7.75. So we're seeing that supply of property go up, the average interest rate go up, and it's probably just because the sheer number of properties, buyers are exhausting their budgets, leaving room for higher interest rates and less of a bid down. So, Greg, I'm going to put you on the spot here. So, we've been talking about the tax lien system 5 years ago, and I think Greg has a confession to make recently. We found out that he, in fact, has bought some.
That's true.
I want to hear about that.
My article, The Frankenstein Alabama Tax Lien System, is still on my blog, and I'm going to leave it there. Yeah. And I think we're going to have the blog website
That's right.
graphic up. But I got to tell you, I broke down this year, and in Baldwin County, and I believe Baldwin and Madison are probably the counties that have the highest value property.
Yes.
And they are also the ones where you think that the interest rates would be bid down the lowest. Mm-hmm. I bought 3 properties.
Wow, in the most expensive county.
In the most expensive county. Now don't get me wrong, I only spent a little bit because I'm only paying 1 year of taxes.
Did you buy beachfront, Greg?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not buy beachfront.
I always tell people you're not going to be able to buy beachfront. So
you can buy the taxes on it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're not going to get the property. But and that's the idea of these things, is that even if you get a lower interest rate, you've got a chance of getting the property at the end of 3 years. Mm-hmm. And so with mine, the 3 that I got, it was really neat because I always say, hey, I started out as an investor.
Right.
And so I'm a tax lien attorney and a land law attorney and a contract attorney. But before all of that, I was just an investor. And I was buying tax liens and properties and flipping them and all that. Mm-hmm. Well, so I felt like I need to go ahead and do this because I tell everybody I do this. Mm-hmm. So I went ahead and I registered at GovEase for the first, for the Baldwin County auction. Mm-hmm. If you're going to register, you just go to govease.com, all one word, govease.com. You register and then you tell them how much you want to deposit with them. And you're going to deposit 10% of the value that you want to bid on. Yeah. I'm going to be candid with you. I said, all right, I'm going to give you $2,500. Yeah. Thinking $25,000 is way more than I really want to do the first time I jump in.
A lot of taxes, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it was painless. I typed in my EFT and my account number, and sure enough, they drafted $2,500. That gave me an opportunity to buy $25,000 at GovEase.
Fair.
And the very first property I bid on, I bid to zero.
Greg, that's the one thing they tell people not to do.
I know. I know.
The no is do not bid to zero.
Right, but I did. And, I say everybody has their own strategy, and even each property has its own strategy. So I looked at this particular property, and I thought, I'm going to bid this to zero. And as soon as the live bidding ended, within a microsecond, the screen flashed, "You won by random number generator." The first one I ever bid on, bid to zero, and I won by random number generator.
And that means that many people bid, or at least several people must have bid that to get the random number generator.
I saw 11 other people.
11 others
Yeah.
bid zero. Yeah.
11 other people bid, and I won it. And I was like, all right, this was meant to be. So that was pretty good. But the next one I bid, I kind of came off a little bit what I wanted to bid, and I got it for 3%.
Okay.
And then the last one I got, I think it was it was 5%.
That's a great interest rate for Baldwin County, by the way.
Well, yeah, but you're going to have the statistics for us at a next episode, or future episode.
That's right.
But I was watching them going, which is why I realized I can bid 5% and possibly get this thing.
Yeah.
You know, so now you can actually bid zero, and it'll only bid down as low as the next guy bid. You know.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's incremental bidding, and it's proxy bidding. So if I had bid zero, and somebody had only bid it down to 6, it would have gone to 5. But I actually bid 5, which is
Okay.
where I got it at. So, but with the Govey system, they will proxy bid. So just because you say zero doesn't mean it's gonna go to zero.
Exactly. Yeah. And this one thing about Govey is that they're really great at auction software, and they have a ton of videos showing how to do exactly what Greg's talking about. I try to point people to that, but your bidding is in good hands. Is all I'm trying to say. Is they do a great job of tracking you down until your minimum interest rate threshold.
Yeah, and it was really good. And then they contacted me immediately after, and they said, "Hey, you won this," and I've got documentation showing that I won, and it was very, very pleasant. You know, so I still think that Alabama system is a Frankenstein monster.
It is.
However, we've had legislative updates for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think it's much less Frankensteinish than it
Sure.
was. And I said Frankenstein because I felt like they chose the worst parts of Mississippi and Florida and Georgia. You know,
Yeah.
the worst bit's all here. And I still think there's a ways to go. However,
Mhm.
the legislature is doing a good job of updating it incrementally to get it to
Sure.
where we want it to be.
And that's an excellent point. Is the maturity is what I see when I, especially looking at other states. These states have discovered mechanisms for properties that go beyond the auction, properties that aren't able to sell, or even properties that do sell. What do you do with the liens at the end of it? And a lot of states develop models for dispersing of those properties. And one of the big concerns about Alabama is that ending in that 3-year foreclosure, we expect to see a lot of those by now. The first counties ran their auctions in the new system in 2019, and nobody's done one. Nobody's completed a foreclosure that we've heard of, except I just found out today, Greg Stanley at Stanley Associates have completed one. And I was floored. We've been waiting years to see this, and finally we're seeing the first one in the state. And I would love to hear from Greg about how that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. It was yesterday.
Okay.
Yesterday, which says something because 2 years ago, March, was when Baldwin County, this was in Baldwin County.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was when and so if you say you're going to bid to zeros and you're not getting that property, it's going to be redeemed. I'm here to tell you,
Right.
this nice little piece of property, and it had a structure on it.
No kidding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was a real windfall for this young man. It was a young man who was an investor, and his mom's kind of coaching him, helping him. But I say young man, he's in his 20s. But this guy, he knows what he's doing, and he went out there and he said, "I'm buying this," and he bought it, and he waited for the 3 years, and he came to us, and he waited a little bit longer than maybe he had to, because you can begin the process at the 3-year mark.
Got it. Okay. And just to split hairs here, you have to collect not only 3 years, you have to collect all the liens, just in case there's confusion about that. That's a distinction Greg has brought up to me, because I didn't know that until Greg told me, but that's an important piece.
Right. I'm going to rephrase what you said.
Yeah.
So if there's been 4 years
Yes.
and somebody else bought the first one, you don't want to get involved.
Yes.
You need to buy every single tax lien certificate. And when you have 3 of them, and there are only 3 of them, well, then you can do your foreclosure. You don't have to do it at 3 years, but anywhere between 3 and 10 years is when you have to do it. After 10, they expire.
Okay.
So make sure you do your foreclosure. But what we did was we did a little bit of prep work with this, and we made sure that we did everything by the book.
Yeah.
This is the first time this judge ever saw one.
And that was in Baldwin County.
In
Judge
Baldwin County.
Okay.
Yeah, really good judge. It was really cool because when we drafted this, before I even had this client, I got with Denise Evans. Denise Evans, for those of you who don't know, Denise Evans, she's been doing tax liens in Alabama longer than I've been a lawyer. Okay? And so she really knows what she's talking about. And so when I wanted to build my checklist in order to do a foreclosure, a tax lien certificate foreclosure, quiet title, ejectment, I'm talking to Denise. She had a course on it. I took her course on this. And then, of course, once I did that, I dug into the codes, and I dug into the codes for regular judicial foreclosures, So we had a checklist, and that's what the complaint was. The complaint was, according to this code, this must happen. We did that. According to this code, I want to say it was 18 paragraphs of code.
Wow, okay.
Exactly. And so that, it was really good. Now, in a case like this, the judge, I'm going to brag here, all right? I'd love to take joy out of other people's situations when they are successful, but I also love taking joy out of my own,
Well, I would say, God grant you, this is a big deal. So
I think so. Well, the first compliment that I got on it was from the guardian ad litem.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so whenever you do one of these quiet titles, you have to hire, the court appoints a guardian ad litem. He's an opposing counsel. He's the attorney on the other side.
Got it.
Trying to stop you.
Yeah,
He's the adversary. Well, as we walked out, he's shaking my hand and he's saying that was the smoothest thing I have ever seen. He said, normally I bill either 8 or 10 hours on these things, but I billed 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Because he said everything was there. So we're very proud of this. As you can tell, I'm probably starting to flush now. I mean, we're very proud that we're the first in the state to get a tax lien certificate foreclosure done, and we only started in end of October or November.
Okay.
So 5 months, is all it took us to get this thing done. I'm very excited, very happy.
That's great.
So, I mean, that's really cool. And to get back to what you and I were talking about, how you make money here.
Yeah.
When you go to Parcel Fair, and if you're not on Parcel Fair, why not? Why are you not? And remember, I don't get any. You ought to send me a nickel in the mail every time. But
I'll bring something.
but no kidding. When you go to Parcel Fair, he has all of the information that you need to do your due diligence. He has links to the videos at Gubby's on how you need to, telling you exactly how to bid and how to register and all of those things. Parcel Fair is the tool that, no kidding, whether you want to buy something that is still at the state inventory, or if you want to buy a new one using the new system and actually go live bid down, or if you want to go to Montgomery County in Alabama and you want to bid at the live bid up auction where you're bidding more money for it as opposed to bidding down an interest rate, Parcel Fair has all of that information. And now that we know that you can foreclose on property and own now this guy, he owns the property. Okay?
Right.
It's clear, free and clear. He can sell it with title insurance. He could go get a loan on it.
Yep, this is what we call marketable title. Actually, something you can sell for full market value. And so I do want to be maybe not the first person, but first person on this channel at least to congratulate you. I think that's fantastic, and I'm excited because what this means for us. As Greg mentioned in Parcel Fair, you're able to search through these tens of thousands of properties, narrow down to fit your strategy. And now we can say that the state of Alabama is open for business for tax foreclosures again.
That's
we have all these counties, more than 2/3 of them are now in the new system, and we have someone who's paved the way. We actually have a path forward, not just for interest liens, but for actually owning property on these new system counties.
Yeah, so interest, owning the property, all the things that we liked before under the old system.
Right.
Even the interest rate, I don't know if you thought about this, Tim. What was the average interest rate from the last year in Jefferson County?
7.74% was last year.
Well, you were only getting 8% under the old system.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, yeah, it's true. You can't take possession of the property during those first 3 years after the sale.
Sure.
That's true. But you're still getting that interest rate. So if you wanted to come in Alabama and get the interest,
right,
that's what you need to be doing. Yeah. And the way you're going to find those properties, the way you're going to do your due diligence, the way you're going to find out when the sales are, is going to be the Parcel Fair YouTube channel, but the Parcel Fair Facebook page, as well as Parcel Fair itself, which is such a great tool.
Absolutely, yeah. Alabama was our first state, and it's still the one with the most history and our deepest connections. So we definitely will be covering auctions going forward, and I expect a flurry of these foreclosures because in the first year, just 3 small counties did the new system. But in the last 2 years, the largest counties have gone to it. And now next year, after this next auction, we'll see those 3rd liens issued on some properties. So this should be just the beginning of many more.
So the website for Stanley and Associates is www.stanley-law.com. The website for Parcel Fair is www.parcelfair, spelled like a fair, .com.
All right, and we'll put this on the screen here so you can see it. And again, congratulations. This has been a great conversation today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We should do this again in 2 weeks.
I think so. We have an auction coming up. I'd love to talk about how that turns out too.
I would too. That'd be great. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Greg.